Allora, se qualcuno mi aiuta a fare da butta dentro, soprattutto con gli italiani che sono lenti, proviamo a ricominciare anche questo nostro pomeriggio. We are going to start now in just a few minutes to let people come back. Un attimo, qualcuno mi chiede un attimo. Chi è che mi chiede un attimo? Era la regia che era tu, Gianfranco? Gianfranco? Ok, streaming è in funzione, bentornati. Questo nostro pomeriggio si apre con una sessione che avevamo voluto dedicare al Dieselgate un anno dopo l'esplosione dello scandalo. In realtà la gestiamo in maniera un po' diversa dal previsto, perché con noi ci sarebbero dovuti essere 2 eurodeputati che molto si sono occupati del tema, Karima Deli, che arriverà più tardi, che quindi magari in qualche altro modo potrà intervenire sull'argomento, potrà rispondere a eventuali domande. So già che Silke vorrà porle qualche punto. Karima Deli è molto rilevante da questo punto di vista, perché lei è stata, oltre a essere componente della Commissione Trasporti al Parlamento Europeo, è vicepresidente della Commissione d'inchiesta sul Dieselgate. Purtroppo ha avuto una questione di spostamenti aerei che le impediscono di essere qui adesso con noi, mentre invece Bas Eickhout non potrà essere per motivi invece più spiacevoli insomma, che sta poco bene. Anche lui sarebbe stato interessante ascoltarlo sulla questione del Dieselgate, perché anche lui ha partecipato alla commissione d'inchiesta ed è un membro della commissione ambiente, perché qua la questione, appunto, non a caso forse i 2 parlamentari assenti fanno parte di ambiente e trasporti, perché la questione, come già abbiamo visto stamattina dalle relazioni che ci sono state, ma anche forse soprattutto dalla interlocuzione tra i relatori e la platea, le 2 vicende si intrecciano molto, come è ovvio per chi fa politica da ambientalista. Cioè le scelte urbanistiche e di mobilità sono strettamente alla questione dell'inquinamento dell'aria. Qualcuno oggi dalla platea ha ricordato giustamente, cosa che noi non dobbiamo mai mettere tra parentesi, i cambiamenti climatici, che anch'essi connessi alla questione trasportistica, e quindi era giusto, e io ritengo che sia giusto, fare un ragionamento sul Dieselgate non soltanto come scandalo in sé, che ha fatto venire fuori i comportamenti truffaldini della Volkswagen nel caso che è esploso, ma che poi vedremo riguardano un po' tutte le case automobilistiche. Ma fare un ragionamento su questo significa anche necessariamente poi parlare delle soluzioni che servono per abbattere quell'inquinamento, e che sono soluzioni che hanno a che fare con la mobilità, e su questo appunto sentiremo sia Monica Otrajac, che è la vicepresidente della Generalitat in valenciana, sia Silke Gebel, che fa parte del Parlamento di Berlino, della città di Berlino. Io vi dico soltanto in premessa, poi loro appunto interverranno e parleranno soprattutto di questioni che riguardano, come si dice anche nel titolo di noi, dalla città, dalle politiche cittadine alle politiche di mobilità come ci si raffronta con le scelte che si fanno a livello europeo e in Parlamento. Però quello che, diciamo, per inquadrare il ragionamento dal punto di vista dell'inquinamento, che è il punto essenziale di questa nostra sessione, io vi dico soltanto alcuni dati, vi ricordo alcuni dati che proprio in occasione del primo anniversario, dell'anniversario dell'esplosione dello scandalo Dieselgate, Transport and Environment ha pubblicato nel suo dossier, da cui emerge con chiarezza, ed è questo un punto fondamentale che, diciamo, per noi non si discute, che non è soltanto la Volkswagen ad avere fatto quei trucchetti che poi hanno determinato quella truffa, ma le molte auto, la stragrande maggioranza delle automobili in circolazione in Europa e che si vendono in Europa, continuano ad avere livelli di emissione molto superiori al consentito, perché il giochetto, lo scherzo è fatto fra i limiti, come sapete bene, fra i test fatti, diciamo, in laboratorio, per come dire, e quelli poi su strada. E quei dati ci dicono che, per esempio, prendendo Transport Environment ha fatto un'operazione molto neutra, ha preso i numeri che le autorità francesi, inglesi e tedesche avevano sugli inquinamenti, l'inquinamento non quelle italiane, poi dirò qualcosa per quanto riguarda l'Italia. Con quei numeri si è dimostrato che le Fiat, per esempio, le Fiat in commercio avevano livelli di emissioni delle NOx 15 volte superiori a quelli che erano consentiti dalle norme europee, che la Renault Nissan era 14 volte superiore, che la Volkswagen continuava a emettere più del consentito, e che complessivamente, questo è un dato che deve far ragionare, sono circa 29 milioni le automobili, i veicoli in circolazione oggi, mentre noi parliamo, in Europa, che hanno livelli di emissioni, per così dire, sporchi. Quando si dice sporchi, un criterio che è quello che è utilizzato da Transport and Environment, possono essere diversi, Transport and Environment, diciamo, usa come criterio quello di dire sporchi sono quelli che inquinano 3 volte consentito da Euro 5, cioè si mette in diciamo, un criterio di assoluta, diciamo, anche lasco, visto che il limite dovrebbe essere quello cui non superare affatto. 29 milioni di auto sono tantissime, per cui la questione che si dibatteva stamattina, poi è stato anche interessante il ragionamento che è venuto fuori sulle auto elettriche, giustamente Maria Berrini spiegava come in Italia forse abbiamo un qualche elemento di interesse in più in questa tecnologia, in qualche maniera disruptive dal punto di vista delle automobili, perché oggi in Italia noi abbiamo un mix elettrico, diciamo, più favorevole da questo punto di vista. Quando abbiamo il 40% di energia elettrica prodotta a rinnovabili in questo Paese e senza nucleare, voglio ricordarvi, è evidente che per l'Italia la questione dell'elettrico nel trasporto può essere forse più interessante di quanto possa essere altrove, dove il mix elettrico non è così favorevole. Come si collega questa questione quindi dell'inquinamento dovuto alle automobili, che è il primo punto per cui noi vogliamo che ne circolino di meno, oltre che siano più pulite, ma che ne circolino di meno, e quali sono le politiche che si possono fare per avere appunto una mobilità più sostenibile, un'urbanistica che consenta una mobilità più sostenibile, è l'argomento su cui poi si concentreranno le nostre due relatrici. Io partirei da Silke, che come vi ho detto è componente per il Partito Verde, ovviamente, del Parlamento di Berlino, e poi Monica sentiamo dopo. Vai Silke.
Can someone help me with the presentation? Okay. Yeah. I don't know.
Aiuto? C'è qualcuno che ci può aiutare con il computer? Ecco che arriva.
There should be coming my presentation. Yeah, I sent it. Sorry. No, it's not. It starts like this. Ah, there. Okay. Maybe by view? Slideshow. Okay, welcome to the digital world. Thank you very much. Good afternoon. My name is Silke Gebel. I'm a member of the Parliament of Berlin, which is a city-state. Just got re-elected. We had elections last month, and the moment we are negotiating about a new government with the left, the Social Democrats and the Greens, and it's the first time ever that we will be part of the government for a longer period than only 6 months. So we are now having a short negotiating period, but the question of clean air is one of the crucial topics that will be part of our coalition and of the treaty. So I'm spokesperson for environmental policy of the Green Group in the Parliament, and I will talk today about clean air, and I want to talk about why clean air is important, shortly about NOx, which is the main problem that we are having in Berlin concerning clean air, then about the causes of the problem, how to reach clean air, what's our green approach that we hopefully will implement soon, and what we need from Europe. And although Karima and Bas aren't here, I think it's something that we could also give to the following discussion, and maybe Karina will go on for it when she will have her speech here. Sergi said it in the panel before that when we talk about mobility, it's about the freedom of movement, and I totally agree with it. But I wanted to remind that it's also about health. So when we talk about clean air, we don't only talk about environmental policy, but we talk about health policy. And if you look at the numbers, it's 2,600 people who died earlier in Berlin because of the air quality. This meaning not only NOx, but also fine dust and ozone. And the problem is, and this shows this graph very, very good, I would say, the smaller the air pollution is, the less visible it is, which also means it's very difficult to campaign for clean air, because you don't have the situation like in Beijing where everybody knows, okay, the air is dirty and we have to do something about. But the smaller the pollution is, the deeper it goes into the body, and the more unhealthy it is. And what we also see is that it's very vulnerable people like children, but also older people, and also people who cannot pay high rents, meaning living in the periphery where the air is clean, or they have to live at the rush lanes. So most of the people who are tackled by dirty air are people who don't have the choice, and most of those people are poor and have a social background that doesn't give them the choice. And what we did in Berlin, and I just wanted to show it to you because I think that's something that is very interesting for us as Greens. We made a map of environmental justice. And we took different environmental burdens like air quality, noise burden, green area supply, thermal stress, bioclimate, and matched it with the social index. And we have different planning craters that we gave it different colors, and the darker the color it is, the more burden they have. And you can see there is something that looks like a dog's face, how we call it in Germany. That's the environmental zone. And it's also it's a metro circle surrounding it. And even in the environmental zone, where only cars can go into who have Euro 5 or better, you have several environmental burdens. And in general, you can say that if there's one, you have air and noise goes always together because the traffic is the source. So you can say that although we have the environmental zone, and also we have a very low car car sharing, you know, but in the model split we don't have many cars in Berlin compared to other cities. You can see that there are a lot of environmental burdens and low air quality, and it goes into relation with people who have few money. So I always say environmental policy is health policy and is a crucial point for social justice. And in these times where social justice is more important than ever, I think that's a point that we Greens have to do. Talking about air quality in Berlin, as I already said, we have the environmental zone, which made huge effort for particulates, fine dust. Huge rush streets, even in the inner city. So you can see that in 2010 we implemented the environmental zone, and nothing changed for the NOx concentration in Rush Street. So still a lot of people are involved, have to breathe a low air quality, and that's also the reason why the EU said Berlin doesn't fulfill the EU legislation, and we are now negotiating how and when we can fulfill it. And this also means that there are certain organizations like the German Environmental Health, Deutsche Umwelthilfe, but also the Friends of the Earth, who go to law against Berlin, also with people who live there, but also as an organization, and try to sue us because we don't fulfill the air quality. What are the causes? It's a traffic, and it's a traffic, and it's a traffic. 75% of the high concentration on the streets, it's always a traffic, and this picture it's from my electoral district, which is really in the middle of the city. It's close to Alexanderplatz, maybe if you know Berlin, so it's like really in the city. And around this here live 10,000 of people, and this is one of the poorest air qualities that we have. So it's a six-lane street, and this is what is going through Berlin, and it's like a beton desert. Another problem is that, of course, you have to convince people to change their mobility habits, which is very difficult if people park on the biking lanes, and the police doesn't do anything, and the administration cannot do anything. And they can, but it's a question of money, and it's a question of priority, what we want to change now, but probably you know it from your, but it's also a question of how you make the biking lanes. Another point is an increasing part of delivery services. It's a new trend, or I don't know, in the last 10 years it's a new trend, but anyway, we have to deal with it, and someone said it before about the last mile, I think it was Christoph. We have to talk about how to make the last mile environmental friendly, because this is what we will have to deal with, especially in the cities, in the big cities, but also in the periphery. And last but not least, of course, Dieselgate is something that we see on the street, because I already said that we have a very low car share in Berlin. We have like 358 cars for 1,000 inhabitants, and we have 700 bicycles for 1,000 inhabitants, and I would say that's pretty good. But you can see that we are a growing city, and it's 40,000 people coming netto per year to Berlin. So the city is growing, and the city is getting more wealthy. And the reason why we have so few cars is also related to the fact that people were very poor in Berlin, they cannot afford a car. So you can also see there's a model split in the areas where people have a very, very few money, they always take the metro and so on, they don't have a car. But while the city is growing, it's not that someone said it was Brussels, they managed to make it even. And we can see that we have more cars, and we see that we have more cars with Euro 5, of course, because it's the new cars that are coming. but the NOx is increasing. This is what you didn't see, but it's, in the last years it's increasing, and we always wondered why, and then with Dieselgate we got an answer somehow. So how to reach clean air? One thing we want to make the next step for the environmental zone, meaning the low emission zone, having the blue plug, and that's a problem where Dieselgate comes to it, because we don't know how to measure it, because we always said if Euro 6 is coming, we will make the blue plug with Euro 6. Now we have Euro 6 and we don't trust Euro 6 because we believe that the measures of Euro 6 on the real drive emissions will probably be also different than Euro 5. And we cannot forbid people not to go into the environmental zone on this space. And so this is very, very stupid. And as long as we don't have a legislative clearance about it, we cannot make the blue plug, I would say. So that's where we need the European support, but we make the legislative base right now already, because so far we cannot make a zero emission zone in Berlin. It's against the national law. Then the second point is we want to make substitution of those traffics that you cannot modify to shared mobility. Just to sum it up, which means electric taxis, which means cargo deliveries, cargo bikes, which means electrobuses or electro-police. All this is something that didn't happen in Berlin right now, but this is what we negotiated already in the coalition treaty, and I'm very optimistic that in the next 2 years we will have a very environmental friendly fleet. And what I already said, I think these cargo cruisers, cargo bikes is something for the last mile, which is very interesting, and I saw it in other cities already, because if the city is very small in the inner and you want to deliver like in 2 or 3 hours, you have to have a different solution. And of course, we want to have different bicycle lanes that you cannot park on. We want a triplification of the budget for bicycle traffic. We want to have modern approaches to mobility, like thinking about how you get safe, quick, dry from A to B, and why not use the below the train path and make it a fast lane for bicycles. This is something that creative people in Berlin thought, and this is what we are negotiating currently, whether we do it in the north or in the south. So I'm pretty optimistic that soon we will have something like this. And the third point, of course, is make public transport stronger. And I think we already have a very strong public transport in Berlin, but still we see that in the everyday decision, people take the decision to take their car. And it's always about the question, the people decide when they first go to work, what is the quickest way for me to get from A to B? And we have to, as politics, it's our duty that the people say, okay, I'm quicker when I take the tram. So we make a massive extension of tram network because it's cheap, it's electric, and it's easy to make because you don't have to go under the earth, but you can make it on the ground. And we have the priority warriors for bus and also for tram, because what the last coalition did was making a tram on the street, but making no priority lane. So the tram is in the car traffic, which is very stupid, because then you are not quicker, but then you're annoyed because you are with 50 other people stuck in the traffic jam. So this is what we did, because we also thought about how to get the biggest acceptance of the people, which is, I think, very important, because we are the lowest level and we have to fulfill something which is very, very difficult to make clean air. On the other hand, we have to deal with the people who get unhealthy, but it's not so directly linked to each other. Yeah. It's more something that you see in the statistics and you know it's significant, and then we have to change, but it's, as I already said, it's not like in Beijing where people can really smell it every day. So So we thought about things that can change something but have also a high acceptance. And what we need from Europe, I have 4 points. I would say we need the pollutant classes on the streets as on the paper. So I will tell Karima later, but I need her to fight for strong real drive emissions, because that's, I think, something what is, will decide whether the cities will have clean air or not. In Germany we have the diesel privilege, which means that, and this is also something I think very important, people, if they buy their car, most of the people don't think, what's the most environmental friendly car? They think what's the cheapest, what's the nicest, what's the biggest, what's the most comfortable, and then maybe they think about environmental points, but it's not the first. So we have to make the end of the diesel privilege, because it makes it cheaper, also it's more environmental unfriendly. And we have to be agree that the future of cars has to be zero emission, because, I mean, to be honest, we won't change that there are tomorrow no cars, and even not the day after tomorrow. But then we have to say it has to be zero emission. And we made in the second chamber in Germany, where we have the majority, we made an approach saying that after 2030 no car with emission can be permitted newly on the street. Huge cry from the automobile industry, you can imagine, but I think this is and it's a demand for European legislation, and I think this is something where Europe has to stand together, because it's something about markets. And if you make the European market low or zero emission, this is the way where you can also convince the automobile industrial, and we need them to go also one step further with political pressure, but yeah. And the last point is talking about the Clean Air Directive. One can say, okay, the cities have to have more strong instruments, like blue plug, blah, blah, blah. Or you can also say the Clean Air Directive is too ambitious and we have to lower it. And I would say that we always have to fight that it's not to be lowered, because it is already too low for health questions, because if you talk about health questions, it has to be much higher than it is right now. And so this is something where we definitely have to take care. So these are my 4 points for Europe. And then thank you for your attention. And this is something that we did in the election campaign. I went to all the hotspots in Berlin and tried to campaign for clean air. And it was something I only can recommend, because you come with people in a very good conversation about environmental questions, health questions, and new modern mobility. Because if you're at a 6-lane street where a lot of people live, and you say, didn't you want to talk about another aspect of mobility? Everybody, even those conservative people, would say yes. I think I totally agree with you, and I think that's a good strategy for campaigning for green issues.
Grazie Silke per questa cosa molto interessante. Per noi ambientalisti italiani il legame fra la questione ambientale e la giustizia sociale è sempre stato, diciamo, sin dall'inizio un punto essenziale. Credo che, questo lo dico ai miei amici e colleghi italiani, questo lavoro sulla mobilità, anche sull'inquinamento della mobilità, con la connessione con la giustizia sociale, le condizioni economiche, socio-economiche, può essere molto interessante per le nostre città, a partire da questa in cui ad alcuni di noi tocca vivere. Do adesso la parola a Monica, che, diciamo, peraltro è anche ministro del non so come si traduca, ma è qualcosa come Equality e Inclusive Politics della Generalitat Valenciana, è la vicepresidente, e quindi questo legame sarà sicuramente anche nella sua presentazione. Prego.
Grazie. So, hello, good afternoon to all of you. First of all, I would like to thank the organizers for giving me this great opportunity to be here with you. And I would also like to thank Silke and Francesco for their outstanding contributions. It's really uplifting to see so many people thinking of how to improve our future and how to improve the world that we leave our children, because we talk about this. Well, as Francesco has said, I come from the Valencian community. My name is Monica Oltra. And Valencian community is a region in Spain where finally there is a new government that just started taking its first steps a year and a half ago, nearby a year and a half. We at this new government have got our priorities straight when it comes to policy making regarding the environment, reducing air pollution, greenhouse emissions, or the fight against climate change. We know that it is our future and our children's future that we are talking about. But unfortunately, it hasn't always been this way. So, first we need to understand the context in which we find ourselves in Spain, and so I have to introduce you some politicians from Spain. While most European countries were pursuing policies for the protection of the environment and climate change, was starting to be taken up as the most important challenge that we were facing. In Spain, the president of the Popular Party thought he could afford to ridicule himself, saying the following in a public forum. You have it there. My cousin told me that not even the top 10 scientists in the world can predict tomorrow weather. So, how can they know what is going to happen in 300 years? I don't know. I don't know. Climate change is an issue to pay close attention to, but we can't turn it into this big global problem. This is a true story. He said this, I promise you. This is what the now President of Spain thinks, just as the World Health Organization warns that atmospheric pollution provokes 16,000 early deaths in Spain every year. The problem is not that he thinks this way, but that he acts accordingly. Thus, for example, under his government, renewable energy has been punished with what in Spain is called the sun tax, where you get taxed for generating your own electricity, a tax which in turn completely discourages the practice of self-supplying and which directly violates the European directives on energy performance and the promotion of the use of energy from renewable sources. So, we must also remember that the European Commissioner for Climate Action and Energy is currently Arias Cañete. This person, I presume you will remember that he owned stock in an oil company, stock which he then sold only to avoid a conflict of interest and be able to be appointed as commissioner. There you have our commissioner. We can't be proud about him. Not because he wanted to, but because he had to. This is why in Spain, in addition to having no policies or the willingness to create them for that matter, regarding pollution emissions or the fight against climate change, there has never been any initiative from the government or any regional Popular Party government to educate and raise awareness on the necessity to put this issue in the center of our lives. The political party that Rajoy and Arias Cañete belong to governed the Valencian community for 20 years and did so following in their leaders' footsteps. No policies, no initiatives to raise awareness on the reduction of pollution gas emissions or climate change. Following is a list of the key policies that they have marked the government's actions in the Valencian community for 20 years. The systematic destruction of land, which was not only allowed but encouraged through a set of custom-designed legal norms by the previous Valencian government to unprotect the land. This allowed for the unsustainable construction of hundreds of thousands of living space, which to this day remains mostly uninhabited. Housing projects were being built kilometers away from the established urban areas, rendering any sustainable mobility plans impossible and destroying land as precious as the Valencia orchard. On top of that, public transport was neglected as the Valencian Agency for Mobility, which is responsible for coordinating the metropolitan transport system, was dismantled. Public transport was deprived of basic investments in areas as important as security. 2,200 rail services along the Valencian territory were discontinued. As a result, transport-related greenhouse emissions in the Valencian community accounted for 33% compared to the 22% statewide average. For the previous government, the protection of the environment, the reduction of air pollution, and the fight against climate change were only hurdles on the way to keep on building, to keep on delivering resources that belong to all of us, but which were monopolized by a few, and to install a corruption system in our country. I will speak about this tomorrow. I always say that I'm a hopeful person, and fortunately, reality gave us reason for hope in May 2015. In May 2015, the people voiced their demand for a new way of doing things, and they decided to put their trust in the political forces that were advocating for change. This is how we got to be part of the Valencian autonomous government, including the main city councils in our territory. We have a duty toward enacting real and effective change during the present term, and we are doing so despite an inherited economic situation which was completely catastrophic due to the gross cases of squander and corruption from the previous Popular Party governments, which brought about an increase in the debt of 1,700%. Nevertheless, during this first year of government, we have proved that a lack in resources can be compensated with political will, and why not, a little bit of ingenuity. This way, Valencia has been able to pedestrianize some key street of the city by simply placing a few flower pots along the road. The public transport network has also been optimized by altering a few routes, and in Alicante we have introduced 13 km/h zones. Giuseppe Grezzi, our city councillor for mobility in Valencia, will delve deeper into this topic later when he speaks. The measures we have undertaken in the Valencian community pave the way for a path that up until now had yet to be started. What we have done is simply apply policies that we are already quite common in other European countries and regions whose governments have started to worry about sustainability decades ago and who had acted accordingly. Urban policies in Spain and in the Valencian community up until this moment had not been, as we've seen, precisely exemplary. They did not align with the most advanced policies in Europe, save for some rare exceptions. But the new local and regional governments out of the last elections, we are trying to make up for lost time, learning from the best examples in Europe. It is with modesty that we take part in the debate. A path always begins with a first step. From all levels, local, regional, state, and the EU. Pushing for a Europe-wide eco-labeling of vehicles, or else the effectiveness of these measures would be compromised. We have also demanded the central government to provide the metropolitan areas in Valencia community with sufficient funding similar to that in other regions, which would allow us to greatly improve the service. Concerning urban planning, citizens' exposure to primary pollutions can be clearly reduced by reducing the space for vehicles and increasing the distance of citizens to roads. This is of special relevance when it comes to the location of schools, urban playgrounds, hospitals, and geriatric and medical care centers. The use of the public and private cycling systems should also be supported because it will support the conversion towards healthier cities. If the reduction of space for cars is achieved before applying these measures, reducing the number of cars and improving the eco-efficiency of fleets, cars not allowed to go to the pedestrian or traffic-reduced areas will concentrate in specific roads and cause pollution problems there. The Valencian orchard is probably the part of our historical heritage we are most proud of in Valencian community. It reminds us to the way we used to live for centuries, and it explains part of our way of being. We eat from our orchard, close to the city, and also breathe cleaner air. As we have seen for the past 2 decades, the previous government completely neglected an agricultural activity that got in the way of the housing bubble that they were only blowing into. Yet again, we are trailing behind Europe in matters of sustainability. To reverse the situation, the Valencian government, which is the result of a 3-way pact known as the Botanics Agreement, developed the first Valencian plan for ecologic production 2016-2020 as part of its first measures, a project with detailed commitments that will triple the surface area for ecological farming until reaching 20% in 2020. It combines recovering Valencian agriculture with the transition of the productive model, 2 of the agreed points in the Botanics Agreement upon which the Valencian government is based. It is also a firm investment, with a lot of room for the creation and distribution of wealth through cooperatives, small and medium-sized business and family farming, and which returns some dignity to the people that take part in economic activity that was dying out in our territory. Politics is the means that allow us to change the present, to improve our future. The presence in the institutions of those of us who are committed to a transition to a new economical, social, and environmental model is crucial. It is a duty for us politicians to push for change that improves people's life, and it's when we are in power in the government that we have the opportunity to make it reality. In the Valencian community, we have finally taken up policies aimed at creating a more sustainable world. A productive model based on sustainability means that active policies help create and renew the production system, protecting our environment and protecting our people, and protecting the social politics and the social justice. This is not only a limitation, it is the only option to open a wide array of real possibilities to create dignified, sustainable, quality employment. The Valencian people have heard me say many times, we are great managers of small things. And environmental policy can be applied through small things, with modesty. But don't forget, an irreversible sum of small reforms can represent a revolution. The need to forge alliances among all of us who are working for a more sustainable world is the key. And to that end, I hope that I've been able to contribute with my presence here today to this key and to this working in net. Thank you a lot for your attention.
Grazie davvero e diciamo, non possiamo fare altro che augurare a te, a voi, diciamo, questo cambiamento, riuscire a mettere in campo questo cambiamento dopo molti anni che hai provato a descriverci, seppur rapidamente, ma li conosciamo. Allora, mi sembra di capire che Karima sta arrivando. Allora, se siete d'accordo, potremmo fare la fotografia. Dobbiamo fare la fotografia. We have to make a picture now? O no? No picture. Allora andiamo sulle domande. Andiamo sulle domande, così arriva Karima e poi chiudiamo la sessione. Prego, là. Grazie.
Sì, volevo fare una domanda a Silke, mi sembra si chiami.
Sì.
Allora, volevo fare due domande. Una su Berlino, perché quando in Italia discutiamo di possesso dell'auto, noi abbiamo 61 auto ogni 100 abitanti, a Berlino mi sembra 35, adesso più o meno. Mi ha colpito una sua affermazione dove ha detto che molti non hanno l'auto perché sono poveri. In Italia non dico che è il contrario, però dato che i poveri in genere stanno in aree a bassa densità dove il trasporto pubblico non c'è, in realtà è così, cioè la usano molto di più, invece chi sta in certe aree centrali dove il trasporto pubblico funziona o funziona meglio, l'indice di motorizzazione è più basso. Allora volevo avere un chiarimento se ho capito bene e una spiegazione su questo dato sulla proprietà dell'auto. E secondo, ha parlato di un provvedimento, se ho capito bene, che ha tolto gli Euro 5 da un'area che però non ha prodotto i risultati attesi. Forse non ho capito bene io e quindi volevo uno supplemento di spiegazione. Poi, visto che questa è una sessione sul Dieselgate, questo parlo in generale, mi piacerebbe che...
Aspetta, la fai a Karima.
Ah, va bene, perfetto, basta.
Fondi.
My name is Jakub Gołębiewski. I'm a city councillor in Toruń in Poland. And I have a comment and a question because we heard from both of you, I guess, that traffic is the main cause of air pollution. Well, from the data I'm familiar with, this is not the case in Poland. And I just have in front of me an article in the newspaper saying that the traffic is responsible only for 13% of air pollution. It was actually, the article was about PM 2.5, this little particles, and 49% is warming houses. So I guess Poland is much more backwards with warmth efficiency, but probably Poland is not the only country that has this problem. And I don't know if there is anyone here who can somehow comment on this relationship about traffic and warming houses in your countries and on this. And supposedly in Italy it's the same what I hear here. So it means that traffic is not the only problem we are dealing with. Speaking about air pollution. And one specific question to Silke. We were talking also about mobility justice or mobility equality. Aren't you afraid that introducing a Euro 6 plaque for the city center is a little bit welcoming the rich, people who are able to buy new cars, and kind of excluding others? Thank
Grazie.
you.
Roberto qua. First row.
Grazie. No, io volevo fare una domanda a Silke Gebel, una domanda politica. Lei accennava al fatto che a Berlino diciamo, la maggioranza uscita dalle ultime elezioni, sì, sono io, è una maggioranza che, dentro la quale ci sono i Verdi, la SPD e la Linke. Ecco, volevo capire sia nell'SPD che nella Linke di Berlino qual è il livello di sensibilità e di attenzione ai temi di cui oggi noi stiamo parlando? Lo chiedo anche sulla base dell'esperienza italiana, dove noi storicamente, credo si possa dire, abbiamo una sinistra molto in ritardo, complessivamente, con tante eccezioni, ma insomma complessivamente molto in ritardo nel cammino, nello sforzo per assumere davvero la questione ambientale come un elemento centrale delle strategie di governo.
Se non ci sono altre, ecco, un'altra domanda lì e basta. Voi due e basta.
Une question à Silke par rapport à Berlin. J'étais fort intéressé par la carte de l'injustice ou de la justice environnementale, plutôt l'injustice environnementale que vous avez créée. C'est un très bel outil, je pense. Je voulais savoir, parce que on identifie les quartiers les plus pauvres, ça c'est bien, et on sait aussi que c'est auprès de cette population-là que c'est parfois le plus difficile de parler des questions d'environnement. Et donc je voulais savoir si vous aviez utilisé cette carte pour aller justement en campagne ou pour faire une campagne dans ces quartiers pour expliquer les enjeux liés à la réduction du trafic automobile, à la réduction du bruit, puisque c'est quelque chose qu'on a dans toutes nos villes. Je crois que c'est un problème social ou sociétal qu'on a, de faire comprendre ou d'illustrer, je dirais, notre combat aussi auprès de ces populations qui sont les plus défavorisées, mais aussi les plus exposées. Merci.
Le due signore in fondo, una lì e una dall'altra parte poi.
I'm Maya from DOM, that's the Green Party in Macedonia. I would just like to give a small comment. I agree with my Poland colleague. In Macedonia, also in Macedonian cities, the way of heating is actually maybe the biggest producer of the air pollution, although the traffic is also, and the factor is of course the industrial pollution. What was also very important that Macedonia is one of the most poor countries in Europe, but the air pollution is the biggest one. So that's the connection we already talked about, that mainly the poorest people suffer most from air pollution, and that's very important. For example, according to World Bank, Macedonia is 2 million people, but over 1,200 people die like Silke, if there is maybe some positive example how reducing the air pollution refer to health of people and reducing these expenses for health care of these people. Thank you.
Grazie. L'ultima, eccola.
Thank you. My name is Sonia. In the name of Portuguese Greens, I would like to congratulate all present. I don't have one question specifically, but I would like to give some notes regarding to urban mobility in Portugal and the different solutions that you can find in our country that create several inequalities and often don't fulfill our people's needs. We as Greens are totally against any attempt to privatize public transport. It's some of the issue. What we say that the priority for the investment should be on quality, integrated networks, and to attend most of the population needs, because we have a long way to walk, having as a goal to dissuade people from using the car, because Portuguese person have their own car. From my own experience at a local level, working with the peoples of the movement over the public service fighting for a better public transport. We demand for trips per day, for more trips, shorter waiting times and higher prices, because we have the prices for the public transport high. So that is became more attractive to people and more accessible. Because, for example, a trip in train to Lisbon, it's more it's more expensive. They have to that we live that if we go on our own car. So we keep on fighting for the expansion of ways of soft mobility, such as the safe cycle lines and the bicycle to become more and more an option for the daily mobility. Because we believe that it's necessary. In my case, I'm a local councillor, and we submit proposals to public authorities, like in the city council, even when we are not in power. Because we believe that being locally active in order to attend the demands of the citizens, we have the way to make changes. I give you an example that it still be done in my hometown, that there is only one cycle line. It was built in 2010, and it is located outside the city, parallel to the road that goes around the city. This cycle line is not be used on a daily basis. It doesn't take you to any school or to other public service. It's only good for the weekend to promenade with your friends. So today I learned very examples to take my hometown. So thank you very much.
Grazie, grazie a voi. E auguri. No, io dico soltanto, prima di dare la parola, magari prima a Monica e poi a Silke, che ha ricevuto più domande di dettaglio, per cui diciamo più domande specifiche per i vostri commenti. Dico solo, fonte Anna Donati, che ha i numeri diciamo in testa a memoria tutti. Per quanto riguarda l'Italia, diciamo, il contributo dei trasporti e del traffico all'inquinamento, i dati dell'ISPRA ci dicono del 50%. Io non voglio dimenticare mai, qualcuno ce l'ha detto stamattina, è il contributo del transport al climate change, che la CO2 pesa per l'Italia il 26% e comunque è un punto molto rilevante sempre. Poi è evidente, lo dico all'amico polacco e all'amica macedone, che sono condizioni molto diverse in giro per l'Europa. Qui noi abbiamo una forte delegazione di Napoli che può intrattenervi sul contributo del porto, dell'inquinamento del porto, alle emissioni che vengono dal porto nella città di Napoli, per cui è evidente che ci sono condizioni locali che possono influire in maniera molto diversa da posto a posto. Una cosa sono le grandi metropoli di cui abbiamo parlato stamattina come Milano, altre sono i paesi più piccoli. Questo, mi volevo limitare a dire questo, ma Monica, qualche commento?
Grazie. So I haven't a question, I think, but I can explain some things you asked for. I think energy problems is for tomorrow in our program, because that's what you said in Poland. The problem is warming houses. In our community, we have more problems, energy problems, to make our houses cooler in summer. Okay, and it's a problem too. Anyway, I think we can think about it tomorrow in the program. Mobility is equality. I think the reducing of traffic is the key, and in the answer, well, can be electric cars, but I think it must be public transport, because this is the equality in the mobility. And this is the key. This is our point of view. And certainly I think the earlier deaths we have, I talk about it, 16,000 earlier deaths in Spain because of air pollution, but they have they has obviously relation with poverty. This is a fact. The poorest areas may be the more pollution areas too. And there were somebody, I think from Macedonia, said poor people suffer more air pollution. Of course, I think so. I agree, because poverty is connected with human suffering, not in environment policies only, in social policies and equality policies too. And finally, yes, I think I agree with the last speech from Portugal. We have to change the citizens, but it is very, very difficult to change citizens if the politicians don't change. Because I told you about Rajoy and Arias Cañete. When these people in the government, the first, the president and our commissioner, say such trash of things, it's difficult that the people change his way of life, his way of thinking. So I think it's important from local level, from regional level. These small things we improve. These small decisions which every day improve our lives or in our environment, the social politics, change the way of thinking and the way of life from the people. But we have to begin changing policies and politicians. No? I think that's very important. We did it in 2015. And I hope we make it as well, so that we can change every day a little bit the way of life of our people. Thank you.
Thank you, Monica. Let's see if you manage to answer everybody in 5 minutes.
Oh, yeah. I give my very best. So starting from the beginning, you had two questions, whether you got me right. The people in Berlin who don't have a car, there are two major groups, and the one group is people like me, people well educated. Hello? Okay. People like me, well educated, with a green conscious, etc. Those people live very much in the inner city or in Kreuzberg, which is the special alternative district. But you also have the people who don't have a job. A lot of people come from the eastern part where the car amount wasn't that high. That's also a very specific thing about Berlin, because it was a separated city to east and west. But you can see that where the unemployment rate is high, the car rate is low. So there is a significant link between. And I also have another very interesting number. If you look at the households, because the other number was about every person living in Berlin, from the baby to the granny. But if you look at the households, it's 45% of all the households don't have a car. I think that's really very much, but it's explained through what I just said before. So it has a strong social background. And the other thing about the Euro 5, the Euro 5 made a huge progress in terms of fine dust, of PM 2.5, what was mentioned before. And the woman from Macedonia, I don't remember your name, I'm sorry. You asked whether there is something that is a good example for local clean air action. And I think the best that Berlin did was implementing the environmental zone, even only for Euro 5, because this decreased the concentration of PM 2.5 to a really low point. And the only problem that we're having today with PM 2.5 is the regional background that leads me to Poland, because it's from the industrial heating and the industrial what is the word? It's not only coal. It's coal. Mostly it's coal. And if you don't have the emission filters, then es verteilt sich. It's expanding, it's distributing, and this is the regional background from PM is very high, and it's not from the local, it's not from the traffic. But as we talked today about Dieselgate, I focused more on NOx, which is the reason for Dieselgate, because they manipulated the Dieselgate, the NOx. And hello, Karima, nice that you're here. And so NOx is definitely in Berlin 66%, and 75% on the rush lanes, and in general 66% from the traffic. So this is what we have to focus on there. Yes, that was the question with Jakob, and you asked, but you already answered it a little bit about PM 2.5. Maybe my explanation between this NOx and PM 2.5 is already some explanation why I'm talking about 75% in Berlin. But when we had the a different heating in Berlin some years ago, we had a lot of ovens with coal in the houses. We had more crucial problem with this, with PM, but we managed to change it, and we have a lot of Fernwärme, long distance heating, which is also a relic from the former GDR, but it's very good to have it because it's low emission. But concerning in energy and heating questions, we are talking also about this in the current coalition negotiations, because this is one of the big challenges that we are focusing, making energy low energy or low emission houses by having a social mix, because Berlin is getting more and more expensive, but the wages, they don't go in the same way up as the rents go up. So what we brought in the debate now is an ecological entire conception, because building energy efficient houses or ecological houses doesn't always mean that it's more expensive. It depends how you make it. And just to make 2 points, you can cool with rainwater and you can heat with sewage. So just we have to think a little bit different, and this is what we want to try in Berlin now, more concrete. And but that's another point. I just wanted to say it because this is also where my passion goes to. Then the question with Euro 6, whether it's not social. I think we have to turn the question around, because I get this question very often from journalists, and they ask me, yeah, Frau Gebel, if we have now the blue plug, then it's only the rich people who can go to, and all the others have to take the public transport. And we had the mobility debate already, but I also say that all the people who already take the public transport or go by foot, I mean, they have to deal with the dirt in the air. And I think it's also, on the other hand, a question of social justice to make sure that the air is clean. So, of course, something has to change. And that's the reason why I always say you cannot do only the blue plug. You also have to do something that people come quick, safe, and drive from A to B. That's the question of modern green mobility. And then the question whether Euro 6 are allowed to go into the environmental zone or not is not so crucial anymore, I would say. How important do the left in the government likes the idea of modern mobility? Not, but they don't have any chance. Because this is the only option, they need us in the government, because it's the only option to build a government, because we have 14% extremely right party in the parliament for the first time, or for the first time since a long time of period, and which is very sad. But on the other hand, it makes them it leads them to fulfill some modern mobility standards, because they cannot make new elections, so they have to be they have to make a coalition with us. And
they had to. They didn't want to.
Yeah, it's very complicated always. But I know that I'm the head of the green team for energy and environmental questions on the negotiating side, and I must say that the environmental questions went very good, but when it's going hard and it's about the facts, like traffic or like really urban development, it's very difficult to get. So what we try to write the goals in, like clean air, low emission, tralala, and we want to have the resort, and then we see. But yeah. And then another. Okay, one last about the environmental justice. Everybody who's interested can write me, and I give you all the information, because I think that's something very good for urban planning. What we did with it is we said, okay, we know now where the crucial areas are, and we make we have a program with some money. It's like the social city, but like the environmental justice city. It's money from the federal state. And we put the money into measures who try to improve environmental justice, like do something against noise and so on. And so do something concrete in the areas where the people are strongly tackled by environmental burden, and to improve the living quality. And this is what we will do now, and I hope in 5 years we have more lighter colors there.
Grazie. Allora, anche se siamo in ritardo rispetto al previsto, Karima è riuscita ad arrivare, quindi please enjoy us here, Karima, please. Come I told before you arrived here that you are as well Vice President of the Inquiry Committee on Dieselgate in the European Parliament, so we are a bit late, but we do need to listen from you something about Dieselgate and what happened in this last year. And I just have to ask you to be as quick as possible, because we are very, very late. Okay? Thank you, Karima.
Hi, everyone. I'm very glad to be here. Yeah, I know. Sorry for being late. We can blame Air France. Not only Volkswagen, Renault, etc., but Air France. Now I continue in French, okay? Yeah, that's translator. Alors moi je suis députée européenne, je suis la coordinatrice de la commission transport au Parlement européen, et je travaille avec mon ami Basse Écoute, qui est lui membre également de la commission transport, mais aussi de la commission environnement, et je vous prie de l'excuser parce qu'il est un peu malade. En tout cas, lorsqu'on parle de la qualité de l'air au niveau du Parlement européen, nous le voyons sous trois angles clés. Tout d'abord, pour nous, cette histoire de qualité de l'air, c'est celle de l'urgence climatique, l'urgence environnementale, l'urgence sanitaire, à laquelle on vient de nous confronter un petit peu avec aussi une nouvelle histoire qu'on apprend. C'est l'histoire de l'inertie catastrophique de nos États membres, qui préfèrent conserver le statu quo lorsqu'on parle de qualité de l'air, plutôt que d'assumer leurs responsabilités et servir l'intérêt général, à commencer par la protection de la santé de nos concitoyens. Au fond, cette histoire, c'est celle d'un besoin grandissant d'Europe. Là où les États membres ont failli, qui prêtent main forte aujourd'hui, et j'ai vu que mon ami Monsieur Christophe Nadjowski de Paris est là. Merci Christophe d'être là. En tout cas, merci aux élus locaux de nous aider dans cette démarche, parce qu'on a une inertie des États, mais on a un volontarisme des collectivités locales et notamment des élus qui nous permettent d'avancer au niveau européen. Alors, tu as dit un mot qui est un gros mot à l'Europe, le Dieselgate. Le Dieselgate, c'est une croisade. Une croisade contre l'industrie automobile, l'industrie du diesel et ses protecteurs. Alors, je vais vous raconter très rapidement comment ça s'est passé, parce que c'est une victoire des écologistes. Nous sommes actuellement, nous sommes en pleine enquête. Moi, je suis vice-présidente de cette enquête, mais heureusement que nous étions là pour mettre en place cette enquête. Lorsque le Dieselgate apparaît, le lendemain, je demande une commission d'enquête au Parlement européen. Je vois que c'est très dur, Pourquoi? Parce qu'il n'y a pas eu de commission d'enquête, notamment sur une crise sanitaire depuis 16 ans au Parlement européen. Le dernier en date était la vache folle. Depuis 16 ans. Tout de suite, je vois que nos chers députés qui ne sont pas de notre groupe politique sont réticents. Pourquoi? Parce qu'ils disent, attention, si on attaque la question du Dieselgate, de Volkswagen, etc., oulala, il y a les questions notamment d'emploi. Et moi, j'ai dit, ce n'est pas possible. Le Dieselgate, c'est derrière la question notamment de la pollution de l'air. Qui dit pollution de l'air, dit protection des citoyens et donc danger pour la santé. Et donc, parallèlement, tout de suite, je mets en place et je lance une pétition citoyenne qui prend tout de suite, puisqu'au bout de 24 heures, nous avons 150 000 citoyens européens qui disent « Nous voulons avoir la vérité sur cette affaire ». Donc, vous voyez que ça montre à quel point, en fait, la question du Dieselgate et de la pollution de l'air, ça intéresse les citoyens européens. Lorsqu'on lance cette commission d'enquête, puisque le lendemain, le Financial Times dira la question des logiciels truqueurs, la Commission savait depuis 2008. 2008. Tout de suite, la Commission d'enquête va poser des vraies questions. La responsabilité au sein de la Commission européenne, qui est au courant? Qui a fermé les yeux? Pourquoi personne n'a parlé? Deuxième grande question, les liens incestueux qui existent entre les États membres et l'industrie et leurs industries nationales. L'exemple français est révélateur puisque nous avons notre État qui est actionnaire par exemple de 20% de Renault et c'est typique une collusion qui est nocive. Ensuite nous viendrons mettre les pieds dans le plat comme on dit en France, il faut briser l'omerta qui règne dans le secteur automobile. Personne n'a accès à l'ensemble des documents. La commission d'enquête va être là pour montrer que la démocratie, c'est de dire la vérité. Et la troisième chose qui était importante, ce qu'il faut savoir sur ce dossier du Dieselgate, pour bien comprendre, c'est que nous avons travaillé main dans la main avec les ONG et la société civile sur des grandes propositions. Parce qu'il ne suffit pas de dire « Oh là là, il y a eu un Dieselgate, c'est scandaleux ». L'objectif, c'est maintenant de dire il faut un avant Dieselgate, mais aussi un après. Donc il faut avancer des solutions concrètes. Pour ça, nous avons mis tout de suite en place quelques grandes propositions, nous les écologistes, et nous allons les porter, puisque la commission d'enquête va rendre notamment son rapport en mars prochain. Mars prochain, sachant que entre-temps, moi, récupérer le rapport qui est et là, je peux vous dire que les constructeurs, ils sont pas gentils avec moi, parce que leur but, c'est de dire ne nous mettez pas des nouvelles normes. Nous avons eu 10 ans pour ne pas respecter les normes, puisque la norme Euro 6 date de 2007. Laissez-nous encore le temps. Donc, les propositions très concrètes. 1. La mise en place de tests en conditions réelles. Ça veut dire quoi? Ça veut dire qu'avant, on testait les véhicules dans des laboratoires privés, financés par les constructeurs automobiles. Vous voyez le conflit d'intérêts quand même. Maintenant, demain, c'est terminé, c'est la fin de la création. Maintenant, c'est en conditions réelles, de manière indépendante. Première grande idée. On ne pourra plus tricher avec les normes lorsqu'on sait que les voitures sont en conditions réelles, l'écart est de au moins 40%. Vous voyez le nombre de particules diesel qu'on fait avaler à nos concitoyens respirer depuis plus d'une dizaine d'années. Deuxième grande idée, le respect des normes anti-pollution. Alors ça, il faut bien que vous... Alors vous êtes bien assis là. Accrochez-vous sur ce que je vais vous dire. Nous, les écolos, on est très attentifs sur ce qui se passe dans tout le Parlement. Et en catimini, notamment sur le non-respect des normes, en catimini, le 28 octobre 2015, les ministres de l'Environnement et de l'Industrie se rencontrent en catimini et disent « Oh là là, mais nos constructeurs automobiles ne peuvent pas respecter la norme de 2007, c'est-à-dire le 80 mg par kilomètre, ni vu ni connu, on va leur donner des permis à polluer. C'est pas grave s'ils ne respectent pas les normes. Jusqu'à 2020, ils peuvent dépasser les normes de 110%. Et après 2020, ils peuvent encore dépasser de 50% les normes. Les ministres ont choisi ça. Et nous, on a une ministre en France qui s'appelle Madame Royal et qui est arrivée dans tous les plateaux télé en disant « Ouh là là, regardez ce que fait l'Europe, c'est scandaleux ». Et vous voyez là le double langage entre les États et ce que nous faisons au Parlement européen. Bien sûr, nous l'avons dénoncé. Nous ne sommes pas arrivés à les contrôler, mais le rapport sur lequel je pilote va pouvoir justement freiner ces permis à polluer et terminer la schizophrénie totale des États sur cette question de diesel qui ont toujours des doubles discours. Ensuite, je vais rentrer vraiment sur la réforme du système d'homologation, parce que ça, c'est important. La Commission européenne a fait des propositions très concrètes, début février, pour mettre en place un dispositif européen de surveillance des autorités nationales d'homologation des véhicules. Comment ça marche? C'est que tous les véhicules qui sortent des usines passent par une autorité nationale pour avoir une homologation. D'accord? Sauf que ces autorités sont financées par les constructeurs automobiles. Donc, en règle générale, il n'y a jamais de problème sur les homologations. Actuellement, donc, on voit bien que derrière ça, la Commission a proposé pour couper, parce qu'un des liens très forts, c'est le lien financier, c'est l'argent. Donc la Commission européenne a proposé une taxe auprès des constructeurs qui sera ensuite redistribuée aux autorités de réception afin de vraiment briser le lien financier entre ces deux acteurs. Cette proposition risque de se heurter, encore une fois, à qui? Aux États membres par rapport aux questions fiscales. Donc on va pousser et on va suivre. La Commission a décidé de mettre en place ce qu'on appelle un audit centralisé des services techniques. Aujourd'hui, on aura aussi des contrôles dans les différentes autorités et les experts nationaux. Et la Commission a décidé de mettre en place ce qu'on appelle des tests ex post, soit par des autorités de marché. Ça permet notamment de surveiller le marché de l'automobile et d'inspecter les véhicules qui sortent de toutes les usines en Europe et dont les informations, les constructeurs seront dans l'obligation de fournir toutes les informations et notamment l'utilisation de logiciels truqueurs. Donc la Commission, elle va dans le bon sens. Sauf que nous, les écologistes, il faut qu'on aille beaucoup plus loin. Il y a un grand rapport qui s'appelle Transport Environnement qui a montré que, alors vous êtes des élus locaux, mais vous allez devoir gérer. Je suis désolée parce que je regarde Christophe également, parce que en Europe, il y a 30 millions de voitures sur nos routes qui ne respectent aucune norme européenne, qui les dépasse 15 fois. Et le premier grand pays qui ne respecte pas, c'est la France, avec 5,5 millions de voitures automobiles qui ne respectent pas les normes. Et donc, nous, notre travail, c'est de la prospective, mais il faut aller vite, c'est comment ces voitures qui ne respectent pas les normes sont rappelées. On les rappelle. Donc, qu'elles sortent des routes, premièrement. Deuxièmement, la grande idée, notamment, c'est de sanctionner tous les constructeurs qui ne respectent pas les normes. Donc, on va parler aujourd'hui de finances, de sanctions financières. A priori, la Commission veut mettre en place un plafond, ce sera 30 000 € par véhicule, ce qui est déjà pas mal. Ensuite, la Commission, pour l'instant, elle n'a pas d'outils pour contrôler. Lorsque le scandale éclate sur Volkswagen, c'est l'agence américaine qui s'appelle EPA qui va détecter ce logiciel. L'Europe n'a pas d'outils pour contrôler. Et donc, la grande nouvelle, je vous fais un scoop, puisque nous l'avons gagné en compromis, là, il y a 2 jours, et dans la commission de transport, moi, je suis le rapporteur, nous allons créer, pour la première fois, une haute autorité européenne de contrôle qui sera qui aura les mêmes fonctions que l'EPA aux États-Unis, qui viendra donner les homologations, qui contrôlera les autorités nationales, qui verra les conflits d'intérêts, mais surtout qui renforcera le droit des consommateurs. Alors je termine parce qu'il y a Monica qui me fait comme ça, voilà. Juste le lien avec vous, c'est que les élus locaux nous ont aidés lorsqu'il y a eu ces permis à polluer. 20 grandes villes, dont des élus locaux, se sont réunis pour saisir la Cour européenne de justice, pour dire que c'est scandaleux que des ministres qui se rencontrent réécrivent la loi sans passer par le Parlement et surtout imposent des normes très élevées parce que les élus locaux vont devoir gérer sur leur territoire ces pics de pollution. Donc merci aux élus locaux, on a besoin de vous, tout se passe d'abord au niveau local. La deuxième chose qui est importante, c'est que la législation au niveau des particules fines et de la qualité de l'air, maintenant ce sera que toutes les grandes villes et même les collectivités qui ne respectent pas le niveau de particules à ne pas dépasser, seront condamnées par des amendes. Et là, on marche sur la tête parce qu'on a donné des permis à polluer à des voitures et on va condamner des collectivités locales qui seront incapables de gérer les pics de pollution. Donc, on a besoin de vous, on a besoin de votre motivation. Vous êtes en avance sur notamment ces États qui freinent. En tout cas, moi, j'aime beaucoup le lien entre l'Europe, les régions, le local, et avançons tous ensemble pour que demain, respirer ne tue pas, parce qu'aujourd'hui, respirer tue. Notre but, nous les écologistes, c'est que tout le monde respire, mais que respire mieux. Et donc, la qualité de la vie, c'est aussi d'avoir plus de pollution. Merci à vous, excusez-moi du retard.
Grazie. Grazie Karima, siamo lieti di averti ascoltato nonostante Air France. Monica, tu? Vai.
Yes, always. Thank you very much. Thank you to our local councillor, to Karima Deli, who jumped in the debate. Thank you very much. And now it's maybe the symbolic moment, but important moment. We invite all the local councillors to sign the appeal who is there and to make a big picture of us that we will send after to the press and to all the world. After that, so in 10 minutes, you know that there are two panels, two working groups, one with Arnaud Pinksteren, who is there, and one other with Frédéric Benheim, who is there, who will be the two moderators. And the working group on shared mobility in green cities will stay here. And the other one, alternative transport, is in another room just near here. So you will be there in about 10 minutes after the signatory and the picture. Thank you very much.
Just a second. So, in the time in which the local councillors come here ready to sign and to make the picture, I would like to give you a couple of informations because some people did not understand very well what I said beforehand. So, on the website of the European Greens, you will find a list of restaurants which have been kindly suggested by Francesco, and I know him very well, so he knows how to eat well. And in case you are interested, there is also the link to book or to inscribe yourself to the visit of the Forum of Caesar or the Forum of August. So this is, and I was asked to give some more information, is something that lasts about half an hour. It starts either at 8 or at 9 or 10. And the idea is that you participate to you walk into the forum, and there is a reconstruction through the light and with a commentary of how those forums were when at the time of the Romans. It is extremely interesting, it's absolutely fabulous, and tonight is a beautiful evening. Normally there are no problems of places, I checked on it. So for those who are interested, please go to the website of the European Greens. There is a link to Visita dei Forum, and you will find all the information and you can inscribe yourself or go there half an hour before to buy the ticket. And the place is in the mere center of Rome, of course, where the Forum Romani are. Okay? Is it clear? Good, thanks. And now please, all the local councillors for the signature, please. We thank you.
Well done. Tout de suite. Et si tu en as deux?